I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods Volcano Block. So last episode, we ended up getting ourselves technically two more of the things needed for the Aldemodium Star, which is currently what we're working towards in this pack, basically completing it to in-game. In here, we ended up getting ourselves the Oblivion Shard, and this required us to dive a little bit into the Spirit mod, which basically is what this function is here. It's sort of a way you can place down multi-blocks and then it consumes an item and poof, you end up getting an item in return for those items placed on the ground. And today we're going to be doing a couple more of those because I want to hopefully by the end of today's episode have the Dimensional Seed, which I believe is one of the hardest things to make in this entire pack. So the Dimensional Seed is going to need all of these compressed blocks, but it also needs some things from occultism. So 2 things from occultism, and then it's also going to need all of these portals, these miniature portals, and they kind of do matter what place they're placed in. Now, thankfully, we've already gathered the dimensional storage accumulators that were needed, but enough said there. We should be able to craft this. However, I think we may find a few problems along the way, because we're going to need tons of certain materials, such as we're going to need tons of the Instone, tons of soul sand, tons of netherrack, and tons of obsidian. Now, obsidian I've had farming for quite a while, so we should be good there. As you can see right here in this compressed, I have over 4,000, I believe, tier 2 compressed, which is a lot, right? Because then we can go ahead and make tier 3 simply by doing this. And so that grants us a ton of tier 3 very quickly. Perfect. We already have like 28 blocks of, 3 times compressed. But when it comes to other things like, for example, netherrack, we don't necessarily have as much, but we do have tons of these pebbles. And so this might be one of the ways that we go about is just by doing the pebbles for the netherrack. And we might have enough for this. I'll just have to simply set up some crafting recipes for this and hope that that works. That's why I had expanded on my pebbles early on, that this whole setup over here is producing, which is basically where all my resources is coming from. I know it looks kind of ridiculous. Now, I think one of the best ways to go about this is to break every single thing down. Like I said, this is one of the hardest things to do. And so I actually have a notepad that I keep notes on. And what I like to do is I like to go through here and I'm looking at all of these individual things that I'm going to need. For example, netherrack block 6 times compressed. I'm going to need to make sure that I have this. So I'm going to put this down and I'm going to go ahead and get auto crafting set up for all of these individual blocks. And I'm going to see if I can craft them and we'll see how much we have. So after getting all of this calculated, I can tell you this is a very hefty list. We are going to need we're going to need 1 6 times compressed netherrack. That's quite a bit. Then we're going to need 1 obsidian that is 5 times compressed. A soul sand that is 5 times compressed, Instone 5 times compressed, emerald that is 5 times compressed, and then a diamond that is 4 times compressed. And then for all of these portals are going to require some materials in themselves. And so we're going to need a total of 12 3 times compressed obsidian. We're going to need 4 3 times compressed Instone and 2 3 times compressed netherrack. And then, oddly enough, we're going to need 2 3 times compressed ender pearls. Yeah, there's a lot that has to go on here. So I just did a lot of crafting of all of the individual things we're going to need. You can see them in here, all of these block crafts. Now, the things I'm mostly worried about is, like I said, the things that I don't have any of. Now, I did make some essence for the soul sand, or not soul sand. Soul sand is one of them. I do have chickens producing soul sand and stuff like that. And then I do have the ability to make soul sand here with our essence. And then I also set up some essence for the end. Now this should produce quite a bit. It does cost 8 to produce the 28, I believe, or 26 Instone that it produces. But those are the 2 things I'm most worried about, is Instone and of course netherrack, as there's something that I'm not really producing passively. And I haven't been producing passively. Now, when it comes to emeralds, I think we're pretty good there. We do have plenty of emeralds and I think diamonds for this. So, for example, to be able to craft the 5 times, I can check here if I have the ability to craft one. Now, it does say I don't have enough coprocessors to do this, which is understandable. it might be better off for me to sort of start with a lower crafting tier and then just craft a few of those and work my way up. Of course, that's probably going to be how I do most of these things. So setting up the auto craft really isn't super helpful in my case. I think also I could potentially just craft larger storages for these. I could probably just go up to a higher tier storage. Let me actually try that real quick. This is a ×5, and it says no crafting CPUs are available. That is kind of unfortunate, isn't it? I wonder why that is the case when we have all of these ready to go. None of them are technically working on things, you know, so that should work. Let me craft like a ×3. So the ×3 works. And so as you can see, we can go through here and choose. I think it's just overall, we just don't have enough to support, even though we are producing a lot. I wonder if just upgrading to these higher tier storages would actually help me store all those blocks, but that's something that I'd have to look at. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and upgrade these so I can do the crafts through here, because I don't want to do this by hand. That's going to be very tedious. So I'm crafting up some 256k crafting storages, and we'll see that should hopefully be able to suffice. We just need enough to store these items. That is sort of the problem. We don't have enough like bytes to store all of this information. Now I can still go through here and I should be able to check things. For example, I should be able to check like in stone. Right? So let's see. In stone, for some reason it has a problem showing up whenever I search in stone. There we go. And I think it was 5 times, right? We need at least 5 times. So here's my problem. It does appear like I have enough for a 5 times. We're only missing 304 essence. That is kind of ridiculous that it's already generated that much. So I might be able to get away with that. But I also need netherrack and lots of it. So netherrack, and I'm not accounting for the 3 times, as honestly, that's not a huge hit for me. But notice right here, I do have this set up to be able to auto craft from the essence, and we are going to need 6 times compressed netherrack. And this is so much that it has to calculate how much it is going to take. It is a lot. So yeah, we definitely do not have enough to be able to make this. So I'm thinking the way that I solve this particular problem is we're going to have to go into a dimension, and I'm thinking we just quarry out a dimension of all of its, well, netherrack. And, well, there is a particular dimension that should have plenty of netherrack. So turns out for some odd reason, the builder doesn't work in the other. Like, it just doesn't work. So my plan for this has been completely ruined. I've got to figure out another strategy for getting enough netherrack, as that's really the only issue that we're going to have, I think. So now in preparation for this, I've done a few things. As you can see here, I've set up all of these to be associated with the nether essence. Hopefully that will be enough. This can always be swapped out for anything we need. So that is maxed out producing that. And then I also want to take these pebbles and I want to directly convert them. Now, I did test this out, and unfortunately, no, the compacting drawer does not compact these pebbles, unfortunately. So I am going to need to do the whole operation where I just pull from this side, and I'm just basically pulling with max upgrades. And then I want to send these pebbles directly into this. So I'm trying to figure out, of course, more ways to produce netherrack, as that is our ultimate goal here. And I think I'm going to do some in-world stuff using up some of our redstone, as there's really no like other use for the redstone, so might as well put it here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send some fluid pipes that are going to fill these up with lava. And in the back, I'm going to be inserting some material. I'm going to be inserting from here, which is going to be redstone, just like so. And then, of course, get some acceleration cards in here. We should have a few, because I want this going as fast as it can possibly go. So I want that to send that into here as quick as it possibly can. And then we're going to pull out of here, of course, with some upgrades. And that's going to send to this. Of course, this needs to be turned on. And that should put lava inside of these. And we're going to put upgrades on those. And then on the bottom, I'm just going to pull from all of these. And that is going to send, aside from this, that is going to send into this, which is going to be an import. And as you can see, it's already working. But of course, we're going to get these accelerated. But the importer, of course, is also going to need some acceleration cards as well. So now, one thing that also might speed this up is by diving into thermal even more, because there's another mod in here, part of the thermal, that requires the materials that the warden drops. And so I'm going to try and create a data model for the warden, and hopefully we can get that going. Yeah, I just got to get this guy to spawn. That's like the hardest part, is just getting him to spawn. Aha, there we go. And yeah, let's go ahead and get a data model for this guy. I'm going to have to fight him a few times, I think. It shouldn't be too difficult, though, given, yeah, the power of our sword. It's pretty easy. So over here on the warden prediction, I'm going to go with the echo shards, as those are the things that are really going to be helpful. Now, here's the thing. I'm trying to figure out, is this going to be able to export fast enough in order to keep up with all of this? Yeah, I don't know if one loot fabricator at this point is going to be able to get through all of them, but it is going to be very important that we can at least get a few of those echo shards for some autocrafts that I want to do. So yeah, this was definitely a good choice, because these efficiency nullifier augments are really nice. These actually speed it up quite significantly on top of what's already going on. So can we have more than one of these? Or is it literally just... Yeah, I only see the benefit of just putting one in, but we might be able to put another linkage amplifier in here, because those do help. I just wonder if that works. So let me take one from here and then put that in there. So yeah, really not noticing a bonus in that regard. So probably just using this basic upgrade like this. And then of course, I also threw some of these in here. Now this is giving us a primary product of 6% increase, which gives us even more essence than the 3 that we're getting from each of these processes. And this also improves our power and everything. So definitely worth throwing those in if you have some of these thermal loots that you got from loot chests. Now, I thought netherrack was going to be the hardest thing to get, but actually, I think it's going to be emeralds. Because I just noticed that I didn't have enough for emeralds. For some reason, it did some weird calculation whenever I tried to calculate the amount earlier, and it definitely wasn't working. Because if we think about it, it is going to be to the power of 9. Like whatever the amount is going to be +1 to the power of 9. So we need a 5 times compressed block of emerald. So if we do that, we have the initial craft into the block that we have to account for. So that means 9 to the power of 6, which means we need 531,441 of this emerald, right? That's going to be kind of a pain. Now, of course, it is a higher number with the times 6, because technically that was a times 7, which is over 4 million netherrack that we need. But we have other means of obtaining that. This actually produces more for only 8. Like, it produces more netherrack for only 8. Whereas with emerald essence, it's really not worth doing that, because it's going to cost for every single emerald, it's going to cost us 9 of the essence. That would be just insanity to be able to try and use essence for that farm. So I was thinking instead, why don't we go with an actual mob farm? And we haven't really played with Apotheosis, so I could modify my current mob farm that I have here, and we'll just use some Apotheosis in order to do this. Now, in order to convert a mob spawner from Apotheosis, you do need the spawn egg. And there is a way of getting the spawn egg in this pack called the DNA swab. So we can actually use the DNA swab, but how are we going to get evokers? Well, evokers drop a ton of emeralds if we do it correctly. And so how are we going to get those? Well, there's a ritual over here that just spawns in a raid. I mean, that's about as nice as it gets. So I believe we can go ahead and maybe do that here. So if I go ahead and I use this, this should be able to activate a raid. Of course, we should be perfectly fine during a raid. I'm not sure how it's going to interact with these blocks that are around, but this should work. It seems like it's running. Don't really know what that means, but there it goes. Okay, so yes, it does start a raid, which is perfect. That's exactly what I need. And then I can get that mob swab from here, and we just need a spawner. Any of these spawners should work from Apotheosis, like this pig spawner, for example, and we can convert that once we get this mob egg. So yeah, it looks like these guys spawned over here. So I could use these guys, technically, for emeralds, I think, but I think the evokers might be a better choice. We'll see. I mean, these guys wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, I think evokers will be better as far as the emerald drop rate. You know what? I might just use the Vindicators. I think Vindicators should be fine. I'm actually going to swab both of them, and we'll see which one is better. So let's swab you. There we go. Grab another swab. And this will hopefully solve a couple of our problems that we're dealing with. We'll see how this works. Aha. So here we go at this particular level. Perfect. So now we have both of the mobs that we're going to need. And so I just got to finish this raid and then we can move forward. So there we go. We have the raid completed. We have Hero of the Village and everything looks really good. So let's go ahead and convert these. Now the mob swabs get combined in this way and we may have a couple of buckets. So this is going to be a GM feed for Vindicator. And then we need to make one, but we're going to need a bucket of XP. We could just, I think, grab from one of these. Yeah, this should fill. We just have to punch it in order to get it. So let's go ahead and add that and we'll get our feed. And all we have to do is just simply, well, spawn in a chicken. Yeah, well, we got to do a chicken and yeah. So all of this has been turning out to be a very interesting problem to solve. By the way, there is the evoker egg and this is going to be the Vindicator egg. Oh goodness. By the way, we could just also duplicate more by getting them inside of a mob duplicator as well. That would probably have been a good idea to have also grabbed one so I can have these in case I mess up. But I want to use this mob farm right here. Now, when it comes to these mob spawners, there's a few things that we can actually do to modify this. And one is a nether star. Of course, we're going to want to change this. Also, we're going to probably want to lower the size of this. And that is going to be something that we need to kind of figure out what is the thing. So this increases the range. We want to decrease the range, however. And I think maybe, I forget what the thing is that we have to do this. Okay, so here it is. Yeah, we use quartz. That's right. We put quartz in our offhand and then we use the item and that will reduce the size. So by default with a mob spawner, the range is 4 blocks out on all sides, including the top and bottom. So to fit this inside of this space, we need to reduce that range by 2. So if we reduce the range by 2, it should be able to fit inside of our mob farm here and should be able to work seamlessly with this setup once we get everything up and running. So let's go ahead and start modifying this a little bit. Now, of course, letting some light in should get this all stopped, and we definitely want that to happen. But yeah, we want these mobs to basically be dropped in here. So spawner, which we already have, let's grab a couple of blocks and I'm trying to think how I want this going. I actually probably need to raise this up. Yeah, we should raise this up a little bit to make this a little bit better. I'm thinking going like at least this tall would be good. These mobs are going to fall into place and we want them to fall into the spawner down there. Now, the first thing I want to do with these spawners that I have placed in here is put a comparator on them. So that is going to allow us to have lever control and it's going to shut them off by default. This is very important for these particular things. And yeah, we need to first, of course, decrease the spawning radius. And if we hold down control, we can see the stats on this. The spawning range is 4. We need to lower that down to 2. So blaze rods and quartz is going to be how we do this. And we just need to put the quartz in our offhand. And I believe by putting this on here, that has now lowered the spawn range, which is the bottom thing, down to 3. Hit it one more time, and now it's at 2. So both of those need to be done. And then the rest is just adding the upgrades to it. So nether stars, of course, are going to be 2 of the most important. These are going to make sure they can run without us needing to be nearby. And then the rest is going to be taking the spawner and just accelerating the crap out of it. So now that these are maxed out, and yes, they are effectively maxed out, we can go ahead and put the things we want in here. So Vindicators and Evokers, I'm going to have both of them running. Might as well. And as you can see, that upgraded. And then we turn it on, and bam! That is doing its thing. As you can see, immediately spawning them in. And then I'm just going to go ahead and get my gray here, gray concrete, and then close this up. And that should be producing so many emeralds. I really don't even know what to say outside of like, it's probably producing too much. Yeah, we're going to need to definitely make sure totems are in our void list. I am going to want a few totems. I can always unremove them later on. But totems need to go into the trash. And there's the trash can. So we are facing south. So go to the south direction. Item card. And we'll go ahead and trash totems. So there we go. So these all totems we can go ahead and put in here. I love how you can hear some of them activating their totems. Yeah. There's still a lot of stuff that needs to be trashed, as you can see. But once we get this filtered up, that's going to be producing more than enough emeralds. We'll never need to worry about emerald production again, I don't think. There's the evoker charms. And so on the south, just make sure to add these to the trash. Make sure this banner gets added to the trash. And I think that is about it. These things should no longer be building up. Iridium ore is building up from something. But yeah, outside of that, there we go. We should have emeralds just flooding in at this point. Now, one thing I need to fix like right away that I'm super worried about is going to be the items that are building up right here. So unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the base absorption hopper was able to keep up. So I do need to set this up and make sure that its range is enough. It does appear we can make sure the range is available. Yeah, this has to go up a little bit more. And I'm just basically sitting it here because that works out fine. But yeah, that range should be enough to be able to access everything. Okay, good. Because that was sort of a problem. I was just seeing a buildup of items, and I noticed that they weren't going into here fast enough. Now, to make some of these crafts a bit faster, I've gone ahead and upgraded with acceleration cards all of my molecular assemblers. Yeah, it's incredibly powerful and overkill now. Now, even though I'm still waiting on emeralds, I can go ahead and start to get these portals. These are here, these miniature portals set up. And to do this, this is what we have to do. So I am going to need flint and steel. And so I have this ready to go. Now, it is very specific. It does tell you even in the quest here that we need to focus, and these heads need to be facing the north and the south. However, it doesn't tell you some more information. Make sure you place these on the ground and not on the actual block, like specifically for the dragon skulls. Don't place them on the block because I think that can cause issues. So place it on the ground. Can be a little picky, I think. Same with the skulls. And then over here, this needs dragon eggs. So we have a couple of dragon eggs we can place down just like this. These, by the way, are the dragon egg cruxes from Mystical Agriculture. These are pretty easy to make as well. All of these things have been pretty straightforward to make. However, we do have to make sure we have the corresponding core. So each of these cores are just a teleportation core from a mechanism, and we just apply it with a certain thing, and that is the other ingredient that we're going to need. So let's go ahead and do this one first. This is probably the cheapest one to make. So this is going to be the nether one. So all I have to do is light this middle block just like we did last episode, and then we should toss it in, and boom. There we go. We get ourselves a nether infused teleportation core. And then the same thing needs to happen for this and this. So this one just needs to receive the draconic. There we go. And then last but not least, oh boy, the ender one. And boom, we have all of them. Now, these, of course, have their own requirements of these items right here that we're going to need when we actually go to craft this. So as you can see, this is going to require more dragon skulls to make the miniature end portal. There's that. And then there's this portal as well. Going to require some of these in crystals. Oh boy. Also, this looks like it's going to require a flux block, which we should have these on autocraft technically. So, yep, we can just go ahead and get those requested. There we go. There's that miniature portal. And then last but not least, we have the miniature nether portal. And to get this warped nylium, we should be able to just craft it. So there we go at this point. And then, of course, the skull, we can just craft that as well. I shouldn't put that in there. I should put it in my inventory. And there we go. So there are the final portals. And then we're also going to need this for the item. These are all of the items required. And then these are also the items required. And we're still missing 2 more blocks. Well, technically 1, because we should have the netherrack done. The like 4 million netherrack. Believe it or not, we have it. I had to do individual crafts for this because even with the max 256, it was still too much information for it. So I had to do like multiple single netherite block crafting operations in order to get this. And there we go. There's the 6-time compressed netherrack. That is a lot of blocks. That's like over 4 million. That is so much. And now the only thing we have to wait for is, well, emeralds. We're gonna need a few more emeralds. I'm still waiting. It's like every time I go through this process, I'm still like figuring out, oh, how many am I gonna need? This is just for 5 times. It just, we're still missing 70k. I think we'll get there here momentarily. It's just gonna take a little bit more waiting on my time. This episode has taken well over the 5-hour mark today. So finally, after a little bit of time, I now have everything I need for this emerald. And of course, with this mob farm running, it's definitely able to keep up. Literally like 30-40 minutes worth of time goes by and it's producing over 100,000 emeralds or something like that. So yeah, definitely worthwhile. And that is literally the last piece needed in order to make this thing. Now, I want to make sure that I do it correctly and definitely follow this sort of image here for the dimensional seed and make sure we do this just right, because I do not want to mess up on all of this. Now, it is directional, as I explained last time. So north needs to go this way, and that means that this to the top left is north, meaning that is where we're going to place our 2 plates, such as this. These 2 dimensional storage accumulators. These are going to need to go right here, facing in the north direction, just like that. And then we're also going to need to place our netherrack in that direction as well, according to this. And then on the right and then on the left, we are going to need our obsidian from the looks of it. It doesn't actually show you when you hover over it, so you kind of have to kind of make the best judgment there. Really the only blocks that look like that. And then of course the soul sand is going to go in the middle. That has been what everything has been lit on, so that definitely goes in the middle. And then we're going to have our 2 big blocks here, our diamond, which is only 4 times, which is way less, by the way, than the emerald, but we need to make sure these go on the right sides. So there we go. And then we have one other block, and that is going to be this telepad, which needs to go here. Now the other items, I don't know if it matters what direction they're facing, but I'm gonna treat this sort of like, I don't know, it's really hard for me to know. I guess if it doesn't work, we can always adjust it, but this definitely looks like it's in this direction. So as you can see, that actually, no, this looks like it's placed on the outside. So let's go ahead and break that and place it like this. It looks like everything is sort of placed on the outside of this setup, but honestly, I don't know if it truly matters. These are kind of cool looking though, the fact that they're miniature like that. And that's it. This is the multi-block, and the only thing we need to do now is light it, and then we're gonna need the solium-based seed apparently, and that is what we're going to use to ignite this whole thing and get this produced. That is pretty awesome. So without further ado, let's get this done. We're going to go ahead and light the main block, and then we just simply toss in the solium seed, and that should work. Oh boy, this is what I'm worried about. I think that works. Solium seed. I feel like I may have done something wrong here. And I don't know if it's because it needs to go in any particular direction. This is another thing that you might encounter. It looks like it gave it back to me. Well, let's try it again. Maybe I don't need it. Oh, nope. There it goes. It did work. That's awesome. Oh, wait, and it gives you the accumulators back. Oh, that's so nice. You don't have to sit there and go through the trouble. Oh my gosh, with the accumulators, because they take quite a while to craft. And there we go. We now have the dimensional seed, which in my opinion, probably one of the hardest items in the entire pack to make towards getting this. And keep this in mind, if you want infinite allthemodium stars, which of course is 100% not necessary, you're going to have to do this process 5 times. Yes, because to make the allthemodium chicken, well, it's going to require all of these steps done 5 times because you're going to need 5 stars in order to have enough for the Aldomadium chicken. Yeah, we'll keep that in mind if that's something you're wanting to do. So without further ado, now that we're the masters of the universe, we can go ahead and place down our new pedestal here and drop in our dimensional seed. And we are now, I would say, way closer to completing the Aldomadium star now. This is basically, that was one of the hardest things in order to make. Everything else we've already prepped up for the most part and just require a bit of crafting, minus a couple of things which require villagers. But outside of that, this is, in my opinion, the hardest part of the Aldomadium star, and we're done with it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you learned something new. Of course, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy and you learned something. Guys, I thank you so very much, and it is now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go to Aha. Thank you so much for your amazing support, by the way, over on the Discord, becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. I know I say that every episode, but truly, you guys are what allow me to continue episodes and series all the way out to this far. Believe me, it does take a lot of time to record these episodes, and definitely the views fall off towards the end of these episodes, and it is a little bit harder to sustain, but it is completely understandable for that to happen, and I could not do it without the support from you guys. So thank you so very much, and of course, I hope you guys continue to support. And if you're interested in doing it yourself, all you have to do is check out the Discord. Of course, you don't have to support to join the Discord. We have an amazing community over there of over 30,000 members. And it's members like you that decide to join, to click that join button and definitely not regret that decision, because it's an amazing community and we have a lot of fun over there. So be sure to check that out. And of course, guys, I hope to see you in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.